Summer 1895, Jefferson County, West Virginia, once called the Garden of Virginia, a magnet to the depredations of the Civil War because horses needed the corn from its rich limestone valley fields, and soldiers needed green apples to eat from its new orchards. 1895 was hot, very hot, dusty, dry. The river was low in May, and by October you could see the bottom from one side to the other. Swimming baths were plainly visible from the bridge. A child could stand at mid-river in many parts with lukewarm water at their knees. Even though the early bloom on the locust trees in May meant a good crop of corn, the heat and drought dispelled such notions cruelly. In 1895, Jefferson County was really farm country, with 90% of the land in orchards or farms, with farms averaging about 185 acres apiece. Family farms. And those families in 1895 uniformly could date themselves back to some ancestor who fought in the local militia in the Revolution. So many of the farms had been tilled by enslaved black persons, they went bankrupt almost instantly at the war's end. Other farms scrimped and sweated on, the owners renting out the land to tenants, often the very men and women of color who tilled them as slaves. But by 1895, there were new signs of life stirring on the farms in Jefferson County because of the new and increasing number of apple and peach orchards. Yes, the railroad reaching to the West Coast farms was creating competition for local wheat because rail prices favored long-distance transport. But this new market for exotic fruits was growing. By 1895, the farm's crops stood taller and fuller than in recent years due to the great use of cow manure and lime to strengthen the soil's nutrient power. Since even the earliest days prior to the Revolution, local farmers had been notorious in not fully using manure to feed the soil. Cows gave milk and meat too. The late 1880s and 90s marked a sharp increase in livestock production. Sure, everyone had their hogs, but there were more dairy operations, more cows, and more manure for the soil. Horses, used singly to pull the plow of the small farms and the upland shale soil farms, and horses to pull the fancier rigs of the limestone valley farms, all needed hay. Haying was a kind of humid hell at that June of 1895, with horses pulling the wagon, the man with the magic touch with the mowing scythe clearing the way. And those people following him used pitchforks to toss the hay up onto the horse-drawn wagon. Most local farms rotated crops in a field. The fourth and fifth years in the rotation were set aside for a hay consisting of clover and timothy, or just timothy. Jefferson County farmers threw about 10,000 tons of hay into their substantial barns during that period. Each year, 100 years later, just 1/4 of all land is now used in Jefferson County as cropland of any kind. But hay is still a big crop for dairy milk cows and horses. On June 3rd at 1:20 p.m., as haying began, local thermometers stood at 98 degrees. Then a Savannah wind blew across the fields, pushing the temperature to 103 degrees, where it stayed clear on into the evening. The heat held until that following Thursday, when a glorious rain brought relief. And just that spring, a local boy named William Wilson, now the U.S. Postmaster General, revived his predecessor's failed idea of having rural free mail delivery to the farms, an idea encouraged in recent years by the phenomenal success of the Sears and Roebuck Company. William Wilson would pick his native Jefferson County to be one of the very first counties in the entire nation to have a mailman shaking his bag for letters and packages at each family mailbox in front of each farm family's mailbox in Jefferson County. Times were changing for sure. New joys, new hopes, new doubts. Times were changing for sure.